Well folks, since we now have the opportunity to do the pretty crazy Chiron engine swap into, among other things, the 2017 GT-R NISMO, as you can see here, I decided to jump back into a couple of speed builds, and as I've said before, especially way back in the day, my speed builds are mostly designed for people who aren't as familiar with tuning, who still need to keep up with the rest of the pack. Maybe they enjoy racing on Special Stage Route X or whatever other circuit, but mostly that track of course. And this time, with the Nismo, I chose that car because even though you can do the Lambo swap, you can do the Corvette, you can do the Viper, the GT-R of course has a huge advantage with the four-wheel drive and its existing layout to being really easy to drive. So first of all, I'm going to show you the build that I've done. Now for those who always like to swoop in and say, oh, my build can do such and such, oh, well, this build's blah blah blah. These builds are not designed to be the quickest in the world. That's the whole point. As I've said before, I personally believe that anyone who puts out a YouTube video that's called fastest in the world or whatever, or ever makes that claim is pretty dumb, because as soon as you show it to anyone else, it's not the quickest anymore. So these are just designed for people who can't tune as well, as I said, are less experienced, to still have a fighting chance. So about 320 miles an hour without NOS. With NOS, of course, it can go even higher, and of course I'll show you that out on the track in a second. As far as the build, of course you want to swap the Chiron engine. I do have the wide body on it as well, a couple of visual bits also with wider tyres, etc. As far as the parts will work from the ultimate section and go down, so we've got the ultra high turbo, the carbon prop shaft, stage 5 weight. For the extreme stuff, we've got the steering angle, the handbrake, ceramic discs, and a NOS system as well. As far as the racing stuff, not a huge amount that you can do, I guess, compared to a more normal quote-unquote engine. The Bugatti's still got so much horsepower, but you can increase it, thankfully, to about 1850 or so. So racing silencer, race intercooler, pads. Of course, I already got these ceramic discs, mostly for the visual thing. You could go for these if you want to. We've got the torque vectoring center diff, the race clutch and flywheel, suspension, transmission. Of course, you don't need to do the weight because we already did stage 5 anyway, and I've got it on racing softs. I know that for top speed racing, some people have a different preference. They like to have maybe softs on the front or the back, and then the opposite on the front or the back, like racing hards on the front, softs on the rear. I just usually go for softs all round, so if it's something you prefer to do, of course you could change that. As far as the semi-racing stuff, of course you want your fully customised computer. We've got the fully customised diff. I have opted to increase the rigidity on this one. As far as the club sports section, we've got stage 2 weight naturally applied, of course, because of the stage 5. I've got the power restrictor and the ballast, because even though we're not using it, it does come in handy if you need to restrict the car for any reason. So pretty simple as far as the parts, basically just fit the best of everything. Now if we jump back into the garage, and of course I'll show you the actual settings, it is, as I alluded to, a very, very simple build to do. You want your softs, of course, fitted. For the suspension, I've got 95mm on the ride height, 4 for anti-roll, 35 and 45 for the dampers, 3.3 on the springs, 3 degrees of camber. Then as far as toe, we've towed out 0.5 on the front, toe in 0.10 on the rear. As far as the diff, 10, 30 and 10 with that 50-50 torque split. As far as the NOS, I've got it all the way up to 50 for the most power. As far as the transmission, of course, hugely important. You could argue the single most important thing for a speed build. We've got an auto setting of 550 kilometers an hour, which is very high. I will say, I've designed this one to do 320 miles an hour, and I'll probably put in the thumbnail whatever that works out to in kilometers per hour, but this one's designed to be pretty close to the red line, so you're getting the most out of that gearbox. If, however, and this is a crucial thing that you'll want to bear in mind, if you find that you're behind other vehicles that have a higher top speed, maybe you're behind a Tomahawk or whatever, or just a quicker, other vehicle in general, and you need more slipstream, maybe you're hitting the red line and you need more, just click that up a couple of notches to maybe 570, 580 as you need to, and then that'll give you a bit more slipstream potential. As far as the ballast, the power, none of that's affected. The downforce is set as low as it can go. Like I said, I have changed around the aero a bit. It's got the different wing, etc. Of course, we've got all the parts fitted here, and that is it as far as the build goes. So you can see the specs there, and all that remains, of course, is to take out 2 Special Stage Route X into a custom event to show you what it can do. Now, as I said, 320 miles an hour is what you're looking at, and that is with the wind behind you. Of course, with a headwind, you'll drop a little bit in the first part of the lap. You can see that more so it's like 316, 317, that region. And if you hit the NOS, of course, you're going to go faster than that anyway. In this race, I used the NOS a bit earlier, so I got up to like 321, 322 against the wind, which really shows you the potential that it's got. And I'm not entirely sure what the slipstream potential is. It should be up around at least 330, maybe 335, somewhere around there. So like I said, extend the transmission if you need even more than that. But most of the time this should be more than good enough for less experienced players to at least get your foot in the door, to get into speed racing. If you're not as good at tuning, not as experienced with it, the GT-R is pretty easy to get. Then of course you'll need to either win the engine on a spin or put some cash into it. I may do some other speed builds as well. I've got one for the Lamborghini Huracan already, and a couple of others which I haven't released yet. So of course, if you would like to see those, tell me down below. And if you do decide to use the build, I hope you have a ton of fun with it, and perhaps you might see me online in a lobby. But until next time, I'll see you then, and for now, thanks for watching.